For over 2 decades, world powers have tried to corner Vladimir Putin,
Putin has a real problem.
question him,
Russia is a regional power.
challenge him,
I did challenge Vladimir Putin.
and every time, they've underestimated him. They thought they were dealing with just another politician. But Putin, he's a different breed, one of the greatest strategists of the 21st century. And those who dared to mess with him quickly realized they were in way over their heads. This video, it's not about praising or condemning him. It's about showing you how many times leaders, including influential personas, tried to play games with Putin and lost. Let's start with a man who thought he could corner Putin with questions, but walked away realizing he'd been outplayed in a battle of wits inside the Kremlin itself. Number 10, Oliver Stone. In 2017, legendary filmmaker and political interviewer Oliver Stone sat across from Vladimir Putin inside the Kremlin. This was meant to be more than an interview. Stone wanted to get under Putin's skin as he brought up the darkest of topics, assassination attempts.
3 times president, 5 assassination attempts, I'm told, but there's a legitimate 5 I've heard about.
Stone expected discomfort, maybe even fear, from Putin's side. But ironically, Putin was sharp-witted that day. Stone pressed further, referencing Fidel Castro, who had allegedly survived over 50 assassination attempts, and compared those with Putin's own experiences.
Not as much as Castro. I think he must have had 50.
Instead of being fazed by the question about his assassination attempts, Putin responded coolly, referencing Fidel Castro's situation.
Yes, I talked with Castro about that. And he said to me, "Do you know why I'm still alive?" I asked him why. Because I was always the one to deal with my security personally.
Note that Oliver Stone thought he could use Fidel Castro's situation to instill fear in Putin, but he was amazed to find that Putin was a step ahead, more composed, more informed, and seemingly better researched than Stone himself. But Stone wasn't done. He tried a final jab, asking,
What is your fate, sir? Do you know?
Here came the classic Putin punchline, deadly smart enough to outpace his opponents. He said,
Only God knows our destiny, yours and mine.
No doubt Oliver Stone was surprised that day that he was messing the wrong opponent. You could almost hear the silence echo in the room, where Stone, a man who had interviewed world leaders from Fidel Castro to Hugo Chavez, walked away with a new lesson burned into his mind. Number 9, Angela Merkel. By the time Angela Merkel left office in 2021, she was seen as one of Europe's most experienced leaders. But even she had a very complicated relationship with Vladimir Putin. Merkel, a champion of Western democracy, viewed Putin as a leader undermining global stability, while Putin saw Merkel as a threat to Russian influence in Europe. So Putin once decided to play a psychological game with Merkel. During a meeting in Sochi in 2007, he brought a Labrador into the room, fully aware of Merkel's well-known phobia of dogs. Later, Merkel accused him of doing it deliberately, suggesting he wanted to prove he is a man. Putin eventually offered a lighthearted apology in a press conference. But let's be honest, we all know the truth. Putin is dire smart when it comes to play psychological tactics. And this move was no accident. It was quite a bit calculated power play against his frenemy Angela Merkel from Germany. Number 8, Emanuel Macron. The ambitious president of France came into power dreaming he could be Europe's next the most powerful leader. But he could not realize he has a boss right over him. In 2017, just weeks after taking office, Macron invited Vladimir Putin to the Palace of Versailles, a place dripping with French imperial history. Macron tried to take the upper hand early. At their press conference, he publicly called out Russian media for spreading falsehoods during the French election. No doubt Putin did not like that, but he did not get excited, as he knew it was not his place as the man who had spent years watching European leaders expose themselves through overconfidence. But in 2022, the tables literally turned round. As tensions rose across Europe, Macron flew to Moscow, hoping he could be Putin's boss and control the situation. He still believed his charm could make Putin flinch. Putin welcomed him, not at a cozy negotiation table, but at a 20-foot-long white marble table, with the two leaders sitting at opposite ends, isolated by a cold expanse of space. The photo went viral. Macron looked like a distant visitor, while Putin appeared to enjoy the scene with an inner smile. This wasn't just about COVID protocols or health precautions. rather was a message that Putin owns the jungle kingship, no matter how much power other creatures might project. Worse still, Macron left that meeting without any results. Number 7, Hadley Gamble, the CNBC reporter. In 2021, a Russian Energy Week forum was arranged in Moscow. During the press conference, the reporter, who was 39 at that time, appeared to use her allure to distract Putin, not just with tough questions, but also through her gestures, her long legs, miniskirt, and high heels. This approach sparked criticism across various media outlets. Many questioned Hadley's true intent. Was it genuine journalism or a performance designed to throw Putin off his game? But no, Putin didn't flinch. He didn't stumble over his words or fall into the trap. Instead, he flipped the script and distracted the reporter herself with, what you ask, praise. In the middle of the exchange, Putin calmly leaned in and said,
You are a beautiful woman, but I'm saying one thing to you, and you're saying a different thing to me, as if you have not heard what I said.
That moment changed the tone. What was meant to unbalance Putin ended up disarming the reporter. Instead of Putin being distracted, it was Hadley Gamble who lost her rhythm, and Putin walked away with the upper hand. Number 6, Hillary Clinton. In 2012, when Russia's parliamentary elections were riddled with fraud allegations, Hillary Clinton publicly condemned the process, claiming it was neither free nor fair. That wasn't just a critique, it was gasoline on fire. Putin, returning to power, accused Clinton of inciting mass protests in Moscow, claiming she gave a signal to opposition forces trying to destabilize Russia. It wasn't just politics anymore, it was personal, between Hillary and the Russian wolf Putin. Then came 2016 and the stakes reached at a global level. As Clinton ran for US president, the world watched in shock as her campaign was hit with leaked emails. American intelligence pointed the finger at Russian interference, and all eyes turned to Putin. Clinton blamed him directly. She called him a cold-minded KGB autocrat, claiming he had a vendetta against her for standing up to him years before. But Putin didn't flinch. He dismissed the allegations with a smile, subtly hinting that perhaps the US should look inward before blaming others. By the time the dust settled, Hillary had lost the election, and to many in the Kremlin, that was Putin's silent victory. Number 5, Justin Trudeau. In a rare meeting with Justin Trudeau and Vladimir Putin both, once Trudeau had been seen direct confrontation with Putin, where Trudeau almost touched Putin's chest like a fighter in a mission. It seemed nearly breaking diplomatic protocol, and at that very moment, Putin's bodyguard, who are specially trained for every situation, moved swiftly to intercept and protect their leader. But Putin was way too much of a Sigma to handle this on his own. He raised his hand subtly, stopping his guard before he could step in, as if silently saying, "Hey, wait, I've got this." So Putin did not react anything to Trudeau, nor just escalated the whole thing, rather let the whole situation neutralizing with pure presence, and handled the situation like a real-life Sigma, controlling the moment with quiet dominance. Number 4, Elon Musk. The year was 2022. Europe became messy. As nations debated and postured, Elon Musk did what no politician dared. He tweeted directly at the Kremlin, "I hereby challenge Vladimir Putin to single combat." The internet went into meltdown. Was it sarcasm? Was it kind of ego or genius marketing? The tweet was aimed at Kremlin, tagging the official presidential account. Now here's the twist. Putin didn't respond, not with a tweet, not with a press statement, absolute silence. But silence can be louder than words. See, Putin never plays by the enemy's tempo. Russian officials later dismissed Musk's challenge, calling him a little boy on Twitter. But the message was clear. You don't bait Putin into a fight on a relevant place. Still, both of them respect each other. Number 3, Josep Borrel. In early 2021, the European Union sent their highest diplomat, Josep Borrel, the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, to Moscow. He arrived in Moscow with high expectations. The mission was clear: confront Putin's regime on its addressing human rights issues. During the joint press conference with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, things unraveled. Lavrov openly mocked the EU, calling it an unreliable partner. And where was Borrell during all this? He stood silently, didn't push back, didn't correct, and didn't even counter. Many European observers were stunned. When he returned to Brussels, Borrell faced harsh criticism from European politicians and media. He was accused of being naive, unprepared, and outmaneuvered. From the Kremlin's view, the mission was a success. Number 2, Boris Johnson. Here comes the most interesting part with Boris Johnson messing Vladimir Putin. Back in 2022, as Putin gets fierce condemnation across the West, Boris took a full swing. He made headlines when he claimed that Putin's war was a product of toxic masculinity. In a speech, Boris suggested that if Putin were a woman, perhaps the war would never have happened. He went on to call Putin a classic example of toxic male behavior and argued that the world needed more female leaders to ensure peace. It was a jab, a personal one, but Putin, never one to let words slide, had a razor-sharp reply waiting. When a reporter reminded Putin of Boris's comments, the Russian president smiled and then delivered a devastating historical counterattack. "I just want to remind Mr. Johnson," Putin said calmly, "that in his own country, there once ruled a woman named Margaret Thatcher, and she, without consulting the Argentine side, launched a war over the Falkland Islands." Boom! In one sentence, Putin dismantled Boris's entire argument. He used British history, Thatcher, the lady herself, to prove that gender alone doesn't prevent war. It wasn't just a historical correction, it was an intellectual backhand, served cold and calculated. The media buzzed. Analysts applauded Putin's grasp of detail, his composure, and his ability to flip the script. Boris, who tried to score points on personality politics, ended up looking underprepared and overmatched. Number 1, the Trump-Zelensky Oval Office moment. On February 28, 2025, the U.S. Oval Office of the White House became the stage for a moment that stunned the world. On one side sat U.S. President Donald Trump, returning for his second term. On the other hand, a visibly tense Ukrainian President Volodimyr Zelensky seeking to secure U.S. backing for Ukraine's position. With a steely glare and his signature bluntness, Trump interrupted Zelensky and dropped the words that echoed across headlines.
"You're gambling with the lives of millions of people."
The whole world fell silent. Zelensky tried to defend his position, but Trump wasn't convinced, accusing Zelensky of,
"You don't have the cards right now."
But here's the twist. Putin wasn't even in the room. And still, he won. In Moscow, Putin didn't even have to make a speech. The world saw the optics. The West wasn't unified anymore. So which of the actions did you like most from Vladimir Putin? Tell us in the comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more upcoming interesting videos.